of the Andromeda sessions would be clear. What?
Miguel is already recording.
Oh, cool. Where's Miguel recording?
He has to ask you where he has to uplink it to.
Yeah.
Well, you could just.
He didn't have the YouTube. He has a program to record, and I know we have an address that he can uplink it to. I just didn't remember it off the top of my head.
Well, we could go over our documentation systems if you want to.
I'm going to ask you. Hi, Lilia. Would you like to check in?
Hi.
Hi, Lilia.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I mixed them.
I think everybody's still a little. Lilia thought. Hold on 1 second. Lilia thought that the meeting started in 15 minutes. I think daylight savings time ending has messed up a lot of people's calendars and schedules. Because I didn't realize that the meeting started at 3 o'clock my time now instead of 4 o'clock my time now. Until I got a message on my phone or my computer 10 minutes beforehand. So we have to, check that everything's set for. I don't know if notifications are going out for these meetings to everybody. Well, I'm just getting it off of my calendar where I put it in. But we got to check scheduling and calendars and make sure that the notifications are set up right. That's the desired outcome right there. Or a goal. I think that's it. Part of it's that Nellie's not here, so we can't get her on it. But maybe me and Jorge can do it either later or tomorrow. All right? And check in, Lilia.
Well, I'm doing okay. Except for my son's phone exploded this morning. But other than that, I'm doing great. So I think I'm a 7. Yeah, 7.
Does he have a Samsung? What kind of phone was it?
Oh, it was an iPhone.
And it blew up? The battery went? Wow.
Yeah. It was something not as dramatic as a Samsung. But the battery just sort of started getting sick. And overnight, it just popped.
Wow.
And your son is okay?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was in his nightstand, so nothing really happened. Just the next morning, he said, Mom, look, and there's 2 pieces of phone.
Okay.
Wow. I thought I had it bad that my phone got stolen on Friday. They sent me a replacement on one day that if I pressed the letter A, 20 O's would light up along with it on the screen pad, and it would type 20 O's. Then they sent me another one today. So the other one is, I'm like a lot of us, I have a lot of apps on my phone. And to reinstall all the apps, and not games, apps for work and apps for other things, and to reinstall everything and then have to re-sign in, remember what passwords I use for everything, is it's a 2-day process and it's annoying. To be having to do it for me having to do it the second time in a week. Yeah, no.
That's
I don't mind what's on the road. But back on to work here. We're on a tangent, which is not good.
So did Lilia get a chance to check in?
Does anybody else have any topics they'd like to add to the topics list?
Did Lilia get a chance to check in? We got that all covered?
Yes, she checked in.
Thank you.
Okay, well,
Have anything?
I'm still a little confused on the payroll topic. It sounds to me like the desired outcome is just to go on the payroll plan, or?
Since Lilia is here, okay, well.
Maybe it's just doing more training on how to complete the payroll verification spreadsheet.
Well, okay, you can change it, Jay. Nobody's stopping you.
Well, let's try.
When we put it there, we knew why we were putting it there, but payroll is a topic, which it's going to be a week behind soon, so it's a topic. I asked somebody for their topics, they said payroll. And for us annex, we're a little bit behind.
Yeah, the topic's perfectly fine. I was just talking about the desired outcome of what we actually wanted to accomplish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The recruitment also is not a desired outcome either. Just recruiting in general wouldn't be a desired outcome. That would be a topic. So if it was a desired outcome, it would have a specific outcome of what we would accomplish by the end of the meeting. You guys see the difference between desired outcome and a topic?
Okay.
So
Got it.
recruiting Hawaii, Alaska, New Zealand isn't a desired outcome that's accomplishable in the meeting. It doesn't make sense as a desired outcome.
Okay.
So have goals.
Sorry,
complete.
Jay, I got a question there.
Yeah.
Just for example, one of the desired outcomes could be regarding what Steve was saying about people getting people paid. But maybe would it be also like the training that you gave the Sonic team regarding the payroll, how to organize everything, how to put in all of the hours, things like that? Wouldn't that be also important that everybody
what I
gets
put
the
in.
same information?
I said here training on how to complete the payment verification spreadsheet. That's what I wrote.
Yes, I know. But I wanted to just clear that out. Then that is.
Let me ask you a question. Are you asking this because of when I sent you on Skype the other day? Ask you if you wanted to do that?
Oh, well, no, not particularly. I'm asking it because, for example, we have a new member in here right now. We have Miguel. And maybe he's got some questions regarding that, and he wasn't able to attend the other meeting. So I just believe that it would be a good idea for someone like Miguel, and maybe even Jorge, he might have some questions on how the payroll should be handled. And before we actually get people paid, we have to make sure that they know how to do the process. That's why I'm saying it.
And Miguel might have. I'm pretty sure me and Jorge do now, but we can go over it. It's certainly something we can go over. We went over it the other night. We can go over it again. Jay can ask the same question, see what kind of answers he gets this time.
But then again, I don't know if you feel like that will be also important. Maybe Jorge
just to back up a second. If the goal is to get people paid, which is obviously the goal of payroll, the best way to do that is to get through the meeting as quickly as possible and get broken out into buddy teams and actually work on the payroll. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Right. So if we wanted to prioritize getting people paid, we would stop this meeting, break up into buddy teams, and start getting people paid. Right. It's not a desired outcome of this meeting. It wouldn't make sense. Right. If people want to prioritize getting people paid above this meeting, then we just don't do the meeting and we focus on the payroll, which is perfectly fine. It's just a matter of priorities. Does that make sense? Like if we want to prioritize payroll above the meeting, that's perfectly fine. There's no problem with that.
Okay.
But the clarity is what's important is that the meeting will just spiral around in circles and not go anywhere if we have a desired outcome that isn't congruent with the actual meeting itself. So getting people paid as a desired outcome just doesn't make sense. So doing training on the payment verification spreadsheet, on the payroll verification spreadsheet does make sense as far as a goal that we can have during the meeting, like Lily was saying, like we did from the Sonic session.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going for. I mean, I think that would be.
Okay. And that's up there.
Cool. So,
Jay, I assume you're going to co-facilitate with me?
Yeah, I can do that for sure. And one,
I mean, I'm doing okay so far, but
Yeah, I mean, it's facilitation's not an easy thing, especially creating the desired outcomes and the focus of the meeting, all that stuff. Also, it's good to note that the Andromeda session doesn't have a midweek check-in. In many ways, that midweek check-in comes on the Monday or Tuesday of the overlap between the two senior manager shifts, right? And so that's more or less where that should happen. But there should be planning that's preparing and supporting this meeting happening once a week. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the topics. The first thing is we have this new sort of setup where we have our group team topics, our group team goals and priorities, and then we have our actual topics themselves, which really is just like the priorities. So recruitment, if it's recruitment for Andromeda team, it would be a group or team setup question. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Only if it was for Andromeda team, right?
Technically speaking, but we could imply some setup, for other team, like supporting other teams, right? So part of our team setup could be supporting other teams, and then recruitment would be one component of that, right? But if we want to do recruitment in general,
I think that's where we were going with it. Yeah,
So support for other teams and recruitment. I don't know if there's anything on the budget that we need to go over. Budget, but I'll put that in other. And
I did ask Jorge to check, and he says the Andromeda budget is done. So.
No, I said it's not done.
Not done, rather. Not done. So the Andromeda budget needs to be done. That's why it's on there.
Okay, so maybe. Well, no, I actually
done by the
just.
other, needs to be done by Saturday.
So that would be.
Really, we have to talk. You, Miguel, need to get together tomorrow and do the Atlantic budget.
Okay.
All right.
And there is a proposal on the table to push it back a week if we decide to switch to the Selene calendar. So then it would be due on the new moon.
Just in case, let's get it done by tomorrow, by Saturday.
For sure. All right. Well, it's technically would be tomorrow for the quarter moon, right? So we either need to approve the global budget for the core team tomorrow at the quarter moon or at the new moon, one of the two. Okay, so the next thing here is the Selene calendar. Do we need to discuss that more, or we can just save that for the new moon?
Well, only maybe a quickie because Lilia and Jorge weren't there. And since it's, if you can do it in an abbreviated version from yesterday, might not be a bad thing because, two people here weren't there.
Well, if you guys just want quick updates, we could do like a quick update round for 5 minutes,
That's why I put it on.
Okay, but I'm going to put that under updates instead of its own topic.
Okay.
That's fine.
Payroll would be an internal team issue as well. Value tracking would be something for EXA, right? That's EXA value tracking.
Yeah,
that would be a goal and a priority that we would want to go over. So I think this is pretty straightforward. Updates 5 minutes. Do you want to do the budget first and then support the other teams?
Yeah, I think let's get the budget out of the way because it's a small budget. It's 2 people.
How much time do you think for the budget? Like 20 minutes? 10 to 20 minutes?
10 to 20 at the most, yeah.
Support
it's just,
for other teams.
Budget, so.
How much time do you guys want to do for recruitment?
15 minutes to do it. At the most, 10 to 15.
And payroll, 15 to 20 minutes as well.
There you go.
So for our group goals and priorities, it'd be nice to do another 15 to 20 minutes on that, and then we can start going through the primary topics. Maybe it could be less. Maybe it could be 10 to 20. And so we'll just see what we shall see our priorities list. Okay. All right. I think that this looks like a good agenda. Are we ready to approve our proposal for our agenda?
Yep.
Yep.
Are there anybody who have any problems with the agenda? Do you agree with the agenda as it stands? No questions, no problems. All right, agenda is approved.
Cool. All right. So overall, like our goal is to, not take an hour to finalize our agenda. But if that's the case, that's it. All right. So let's start with the first topic, which is our group team setup. So one of the things for our group team setup is that there should be a clear, usually we would spend a couple minutes just making sure that we have, our team setup clear. There's the reviewing our setup verification spreadsheets, right? And I'm going to start using the abbreviation VS because we're going to be using verification spreadsheets a lot. So VS means verification spreadsheet.
Did we make one for the Andromeda team, or we have the template? We can make one easily, but
yeah. Cool. So anyways, I think overall we're okay. And that we don't need to worry too much about our group team setup, but we should have, our docs and our lists and everything, and make sure that we're doing that. I don't know if someone has to help with that or whatever, but other than that, I think we can just ignore it for this week and just move on.
I think maybe the doc that we have for all the teams with their important docs, maybe we ought to add the team verification sheet to that set of documents. That's a good idea. The individual team. You know how we have for Andromeda, we have, we have what we did so that we have the separate documents. Maybe we just need to add the team setup verification doc in with the section for each team.
Maybe. I mean, basically what I'm looking for, if you think about it in context, is that the group team setup is kind of like a little mini agenda in of itself, right? So what we do is we have our master topic list, and really the master topic list is like the priorities and list of topics themselves, and then you also have the the group / team set of topics, right? So maybe we need to take our topic list and split it out into 2 sets. We'll figure it out over time. We just need to understand it better.
All right.
Yeah. And then we also, I was also thinking of potentially within our spreadsheets, our verification spreadsheet, that we want to prioritize and potentially make this related to our priorities spreadsheet. So basically we'd have 2 spreadsheets. We'd have our priority spreadsheet, and then we have our setup spreadsheet, or internal team spreadsheet. So we kind of have both of them, There's 2 spreadsheets, and then there'd be 2 topic lists. All right, so anyways, we'll figure that out. Let's go into updates. Sounds good?
Sounds good. 5 minutes for updates.
Yeah, and let's make sure that we have a topic for this. What would it be called? So this is like,
Update for selling content.
it's like preparation for our team setup organizing or something like that. I don't know what we would call it. Does that make sense? Is that a good name, or is that ridiculous?
Well, I don't know what's name.
But the point is, we just need to make sure we're organizing and keeping track of our team setup so that we aren't losing track of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost a responsibility in and of itself, right? Like team set up organizing. It's kind of like responsibility organizing, except it's like organizing your entire team setup. Okay. All right. So
a lot harder in the old world than in the new world, where the teams are so much bigger. But
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's go on to the updates. So, do you guys have any other updates besides just EXA and selling calendar?
Well, the only update I have is that I am probably 40% done with my list of who took on responsibilities to organize and to do, and I'm going to start letting people know what they signed up to do. Hopefully next week, and what they signed up to organize and who they're supposed to be contacting to get the work done. Which is what the problem we said is you have to stay on the people and remind them they got to get it done. So I'm going to, let everybody know who took on what and have them get on them to do it, remind them to do whatever they have to do.
Okay, just please stick to the priorities, because people don't need like 100 different things that they don't necessarily have.
No. I'm sticking with the main stuff right now.
Great.
I'm sticking with the main stuff. We can go over it, before I do it. Okay? That's my only update. That and taxes will be done hopefully over the weekend.
Cool. That sounds good. So the selling calendar is basically this proposal that we're going to bring to the quarter moon session tomorrow that would switch our all of our tracking, our value tracking, our systems that relate to internal budgeting, internal goal making, everything that we do internally as far as all of our tracking and finances would all be converted into the Selene calendar instead of the Gregorian calendar. It wouldn't affect our day-to-day schedule.
Mhm.
It would only affect the documentation systems. So in that context, the easiest proposal is the actual task that needs to happen is the sync of the 3-week to 4-week synchronization between the Gregorian and Selene calendar. So for 3 to 4 weeks, or like let's say 3 weeks, the Selene calendar and the Gregorian calendar sync right on top of each other for the weeks, right? And so it's really easy since all of our systems function by week. It's easy to transfer over and switch over. But if we don't do it by December 10th, then we have to wait 4 months before it syncs again. So basically, bottom line is that we need someone to help step up, and then the proposal is that it'll give us we'll fully switch. The new moon would be when we have the budget due for the monthly budget.
You want me to copy the proposal for the proposal doc so they can see it?
No, I thought we were just doing a quick update.
Okay, all right.
So basically, this will give us a lot of flexibility for a whole month of whether or not we're capable of switching over. If we can't switch over and we don't get the work done, and this is the primary work that needs to get done, it's this responsibility right here of actually creating the synced calendar between the two calendars, right? So this would be like a synced 3-week to 1 month calendar. And it's just gonna, like, every single day of the Gregorian calendar will be synced with the specific day of the Selene calendar, so it won't matter whether or not you write a date in Gregorian calendar or Selene calendar, because they'll be perfectly synced. Right.
Time up 1 more minute for this update.
I mean, 1 more minute for all the updates.
Okay.
No, not okay. What do you mean? 1 more minute for Selene calendar update?
You said it was 5 minutes for this topic.
Okay, so we should move on to EXA. So with EXA, I got appointed as the new admin, node director. And this also comes with the increase to, like, we went from $3,500 for the legal arc to now it's $6,250 for both. So you could kind of say you have 3,125. So in some ways that's a cut of the legal arc budget. Legal arc, and then you have 3,125 for admin. Okay.
Okay.
And then we also got a slight increase in a few other things, but there are other things that we aren't doing that we're going to need to give the money back. So, but I think that's overall. Things are still pretty disorganized, but there's not a lot of time we have left. Like there's only like a 1 to 2 month budget. It's not a lot of time. So 1 to 2 months, if EXA doesn't bring in more money, like that's like we're not going to be making as much money anymore. But either way, it's still exciting because we're increasing our monthly budget by as much as like $2,000 to $3,000.
All right, that's great.
Yeah. And I have a vote. For the first time, I have Jay has a vote on the quote council of nodes. So that gives us a little more power in the organization, but we need to step up. We really, like, one of the most important things we need to step up is the executive support and voting forms, proposals, etc.
I will step myself. I will make sure that I step, because it's me that's not doing it, a lot of it. I will step up.
Yeah, but it's like you're working on taxes right now. Someone else should be capable of stepping up and helping with it as well. It shouldn't all be on you to do. Cool. So I think that we are good. Any other updates from anyone?
No, we are almost 2 minutes over the mark.
Cool. Any other updates from anyone? All right. I think we're done.
Not for me.
All right. Andromeda team budget. Do you want to do this one, Steve?
All right, so the Andromeda team budget consists of one buddy team. Buddy team, Nelly and Jorge. And MBT, Nelly and Jorge. Jorge, Nelly, and I was on the sheet. Jorge, can you put your combined budget up on the notes? Because we need that to make a budget for the team.
On it.
So, I recollect that like it's important to acknowledge the teams that have proposed to be in the Andromeda team budget, as opposed to just saying that there's only one buddy team. I mean, wasn't there 2 buddy teams that proposed to be in the Andromeda buddy team budget, or is there only one?
There's only one because provisional buddy team, Lilia, Steve, and Miguel are proposing their budget to the Atlantic team.
Not propose it to the Andromeda team?
We talked about it 2 weeks ago, but we decided that since there wasn't enough money in the budget, we decided not to propose it. We took the proposal off the table.
I know, but I'm just saying that the process should be that a buddy team proposes their buddy team budget to a super team, and then that's a final task. Like once it's proposed indefinitely for that month, and so it either fits or it doesn't fit, right? Does that make sense?
We decided not to actually make the proposal.
Okay.
We decided not to make the proposal.
Okay, then it would be no. All right, fine.
Lily and I decided not to make the proposal to the Andromeda team, that we'd make the proposal to the Atlantic team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since
There was no money there.
I know, but the money.
We can always switch money. That's not the only problem.
Yeah, the money
But it
being
works
there,
out. We're
the
both in
money.
the Atlantic Quintet.
Yeah, but my point is that the money being there or not is not the definitive factor of whether or not what you as a buddy team need to choose what team you want to be a part of. And if you don't make it clear what team you want to be a part of, the money will never be there. Does that make sense?
Right. So we've decided that we want to be in the Atlantic Quintet budget.
Okay. So that's really important to acknowledge that you guys are choosing not to want to be in the Andromeda team, period, regardless whether it's this month or future months, right? And so you're proposing to be in the Atlantic team, not the Andromeda team. Does that make sense, Nelly? I mean,
Yes.
Lilia?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay, because if you want to ever be in the Andromeda team, you should be proposing to both teams and eventually figure out how to get into the Andromeda team.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
No, but yes, I understand.
All right, how we doing?
So, do you guys want me to do this, or you guys want to try to figure it
Well,
out
I'm still
yourself?
waiting to pull up the budget,
So, is there a budget doc yet? Do we even have a budget doc? Let's check the budget. Oh my God, this is cray. All right, so it looks to me like there's no Andromeda budget doc. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so that would obviously be the first thing, is to create an Andromeda team budget doc. How are you going to have a budget if you don't have a budget doc?
Should it be like the same? Always has a template there, but the team that comes with budget, team budget doc that they have used for the different teams.
I think we were passing the Andromeda team budget without actually having a physical doc made.
Is there a draft Andromeda team budget? I don't know. I mean, we could go back to previous meetings and see what we could find.
I'm going to check Drive and see if I have it in Drive.
What, the Andromeda team budget doc?
Yeah. No, I don't think we have one.
there's no traffic for that.
Nope. So we need to create an Andromeda team budget doc. Lilia, we're gonna do provisional buddy team for now, you, me, and Miguel, until we have another person that Miguel can make a main buddy team with.
Okay.
Okay?
So we should be editing our budget, right?
We're gonna have to make another doc with Miguel, right? We're gonna have to make another doc with Miguel added into the budget, yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Like I will be working on that in the meantime.
If you're gonna be around tomorrow, we can work on it tomorrow. Miguel, you'll work with us and we'll get our buddy team doc budget together, and we can do our buddy team doc, the Atlantic team doc also tomorrow, and get all that done and
So do
proposed it and everything.
you guys want me to go over just like the basics of what should be in a team budget? Like, do you guys know that, or do you guys want to?
I know it. I mean, but you go over it then.
Well, just for all of us to know as well.
So can you think of anything that should go into a team budget?
If possible, yes.
So I mean, my question is, can you think of a one single thing that might potentially go into a team budget? What might go into a team?
List of team members and associated budgets to each of one, or each buddy team.
Buddy team. Buddy teams. Buddy team budgets. Yes, so your buddy teams. And would that be, and so that could either be your team controlled budget or your public controlled budget. Does that make sense? What else? What else might go into a team budget?
I think like the budgets for the next month, like if we have prepared them.
I don't understand. The budgets for the next month. I don't get it. What?
Budget proposals for next month, for example, if you already have the one for December, January.
No, so we're just gonna be sticking into a single month. So it's just gonna be the November, December, or the Celanine equivalent. Okay.
Which sextant do we belong to?
This is the Andromeda team. The Andromeda team is a duodecant. It's the 90-degree west duodecant, or the Americas Network team. Does that make sense?
Right.
So the Andromeda team is the only team in existence that is not a sextant team. Why would we have this still? Well, there's two reasons. One, because it's the original team, and it's the team that aligns with the Americas team, which is where all the money is, right? So technically speaking, the Andromeda team is in a very good position because it is aligned with the original creation of the global network and where all the money is / will be. So
what else should be on the document?
but technically it's not a sextant, and all of its money comes from sextants. So how do you know the money coming from somewhere else? What is that called? What is it? What do you call it when you get money from somebody?
It's transferred.
Yeah, but in the terms of the Andromeda team,
Funding.
well, we technically call it income. It's the income part of your budget, right? Where does the funding come from? Where does the funding and money come from? Right. So if you don't have income, what happens to your budget?
Cannot be approved.
Well, you don't have a
You don't
budget.
have a budget.
You have no budget without income. Also, income, as we've gone through many times before, and I will save all the trouble because I know it's so hard for people to think of these things, is the income creates your maximum threshold, right? You can't go over the amount of your income, otherwise you don't have a balanced budget.
We are halfway of the time mark, 20 minutes.
Can you repeat what I just said? All right.
Sorry?
Can you please repeat what I just said? It's really important.
That if we don't have an income, there's no budget.
And can someone else repeat what I just said?
Well, yeah, it's if we do not have an income and we try to or if we don't have an income or we try to exceed the income that we're receiving, then we don't have a balanced budget and we cannot go through.
And so what do we call the total amount of income? What do we call that?
I would think that will be the budget, the total amount of the budget, but I'm not sure.
It's the maximum.
Maximum amount of budget. Okay.
Yes, it's the maximum amount that the budget can go and still be balanced. Cool. So
okay.
What else might be in the team budget?
The team, but you want me to do it, or you want to wait for somebody else?
I don't really care. You could suggest, there's at least like 5 or 6 things, so you could suggest one.
It's going to have one line with the actual team budget combined. Then it's going to break down each individual's ideal, requested, and lowest.
No, it doesn't need to do that at all. This is the actual budget, not a proposal, right? So it's the actual budget. So you don't need
I was checking other teams' team budget doc, and it only has like the budgets for the next 2 months. And the budget for the team, nothing else.
Well, they might have done it wrong, but I don't know. What are you comparing it to? Which one are you looking at?
Because I said at the beginning, can we use like one of those templates, like what they did, in order to make our document?
Well, if they did it wrong, you definitely don't want to use it. You know.
Well, here on the monthly team budget verification spreadsheet says that they already have the budget doc and they have the updated budget for the new month, and if this includes budget team pay and senior sexton and updated recruitment budget.
Well, I know, but it could also all be wrong because it hasn't been finally verified. We need to go through it in detail, but let's just focus on a team. We can't do all of them simultaneously. We just focus on a single team. We can, you know. Oh, and the Atlantic team is the only team left that doesn't have a name yet.
Oh, we can't say Atlantic? Okay, we'll think about that.
Well, technically you can't say Atlantic. You would be the first Atlantic team. So you can stay as the first Atlantic team if you want to, but you can't be the Atlantic team because, you know, there is no single team in the Atlantic. There could be dozens. So you could be the first Atlantic team, and then there would be the second Atlantic team and the third Atlantic team. So that's perfectly fine.
That gets tiring.
But Jorge, can you please choose a team, because you're talking in these very general contexts, and it's not going to help us. If you want to choose a specific team,
I was checking the Fulcrum team. Now I'm checking the Phoenix team.
Let's just do one. Do you want to choose the Fulcrum or the Phoenix?
Phoenix.
Okay, so we're going to open the Phoenix team's budget doc. So first of all, we can confirm that they have a budget doc, which is good, right? Updated budget for the new month. So I mean, this is kind of a yes and no question. It's like they have an updated, they have a budget, you know, maybe we should talk more about, like, did they start, you know, started budget for the new month. Yes, they have a started budget. Does it include the budget team pay? Yes. Does it include the senior section? Yes. Do they have updated recruitment budget? I don't know. Possibly, yes, question mark. Advances, I don't know. Is the budget balanced? No, the budget's obviously not balanced. They don't even have income in the budget, right? So how can it be balanced if you don't even know what the income is? Do you see
Yeah, because the list that you were mentioning, what it has to be in the document, I don't see it there.
What don't you see?
You just mentioned that the document should have, let me show you. It was supposed to be team control budget. Okay, income. Where does the funding money come from? Define your maximum amount of money, and should be balanced. But I'm seeing only like the values that they place for their previous budgets.
Yeah, so they did it wrong, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I was kind of feeling bad because we don't have this Andromeda budget document, but I was trying to use those documents because they say that they did the document as a guide. So I would probably made a huge mistake by following them.
You probably would, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you would still make a lot of progress, though. I mean, look, they do have a lot of things going on. So the Phoenix team, they have a budget doc, which is a lot better than the Andromeda team. The Andromeda team doesn't even have a budget doc. They started the budget for the new month. They included the buddy teams on their budget. They have the senior sextant. They've got the updated recruitment budget, potentially. And they say that they have advances. I don't know about that. I don't know if there are any advances. But it's just not balanced, and it's missing some other components. So it would be 1,000,000 times better than the current Andromeda budget. So if you had copied and used their budget, it would be a lot better than the Andromeda budget currently is. So what might also go into a team budget? So far we have two things. We have the buddy team budgets, and we've got the income. Can you think of anything else?
You have a breakdown of the income. What's coming from the public budget? What's coming from the team control budget?
Well, that would be a breakdown of your buddy team budget. So yes, that's very important. Your team control budget, your public team budget. Can you guys think of anything else that would go into the budget?
Monthly balance could be.
What's that? The monthly balance? What's that?
Like how much is this person receiving? And
that would be your income.
The total amounts for each buddy team to be balanced against the highest possible budget, against the maximum budget.
I don't know what that means. I'm confused.
That's, the math ensures that the full team budget stays within the maximum range of their budget. The function, the calculations.
Okay, so basically, simply that it's a balanced budget. Like, show that it's a balanced budget.
Right.
Okay, that sounds good. Anything else?
The recruitment budget.
Recruitment budget, that's good. And ideally it would be updated, right? Ideally it would be updated. What would that mean for Atlantic or Andromeda? It would mean that we need to subtract Miguel, right? If we're going to add Miguel to the recruitment budget, then we would need to subtract him from it. Does that make sense?
Right.
So if it's
I know we have to do that in the Atlantic, yes.
Yes, but if Miguel fits in the team budget, we don't have to worry about that. So
right,
what else?
And I think I'm pretty sure he fits in the team budget.
So what else?
But I am not already approved.
You're in the recruitment budget. You're automatically approved in the recruitment budget. And so yeah, so the being added to the team budget is a level above the recruitment budget, because the recruitment budget is, well, they're all temporary, but it's it means the team has supported and approved you to be part of the team budget. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so recruiting people, just because we recruit someone doesn't necessarily mean that the team is going to add them to their budget or even has the ability to do that, because there are limited budgets that we bring in. So the team budget actually applies to our monthly budget, right? So the team budget has to fit in to the actual income that we're bringing in every month. Whereas if we can pay people additional money but it comes out of our future budgets, right? So it's a one-time budget. but unfortunately our team budget is also temporary because our client only has a 1 to 2 month budget as well. All right, so what next? What else is supposed to be in the budget, the team budget?
We're reaching the time mark.
So I just want to remind you guys that these are not trick questions. Really open the document, read off the list of things that are in the budget, and it would take like 30 seconds. But you guys are choosing not to do that, so I just keep asking over and over and over again. What might go into a team budget?
That was what I was looking for, the order documents, order team's documents, but
I know, but you looked at all of them, you saw all of them, we went through them all, but you guys
A
are saying
list of all the buddy teams and their budget.
we have that, the buddy team budgets. We already have that. That's 1. Income is 2. Show that the budget's balance is 3. Recruitment balance is 4. We're still missing like 2 or 3 items. And we went through them all. We just need to add them to the list. And I'm not even the note taker, and I'm the one writing this down. So someone else could be writing it down. And also someone could just be creating the budget. I mean, I'm just trying to help you guys here. Can anyone think of anything else that should go into the team budget?
Sorry, and I'm not checking. Oh, sorry.
Well, it's not unexpected. That's usually what these sessions are like, is that I'm just talking and people are not doing anything. So it is expected.
But how to create the budget? I see the budget of George and Nelly, and they made the okay. The Andromeda budget doc is not linked, so I talked to you about this few days ago because I wanted to see it. And
the budget doc, I can link the budget doc right here. Boom, done, linked.
So I try to understand what's going on and how I can help. That's the
right now, the help is to create the Andromeda team budget. That's what needs to happen right here, right now. We want to create the Andromeda team budget, or we can table this item, and whoever is going to create the Andromeda team budget can take that on and create it. Right? Who is the most in need of creating the Andromeda team budget and therefore the most responsible for it?
All of us, is it?
Nope.
People who are in the Andromeda budget?
People in the Andromeda team who want to get paid.
And who is that?
Nelly and Jorge.
That's us.
Nelly and Jorge. So basically, if there's no Andromeda team budget, Nelly and Jorge would automatically get full, there would be full, what do we call it? Hard stop. And they would be able to do nothing until their budget is completed, right? So if basically, you know, we can be here and help Jorge and Nelly, you know, and we can help them get their budget together. It's perfectly fine. But in the end, it's their responsibility, if they want to get paid, to make sure that their teams, aka the Andromeda team, has a budget. What's another option if Nelly and Jorge don't want to deal with the budget? What other option would they have?
They know how to do it for the future.
Yeah, but what other option would they have if they don't want to deal with the budget? What other option?
One moment, I got this link.
Requesting to stay at the same pay that's currently at.
No, that's not an option. Their only other option would be to just vote to take the entire Andromeda team budget and give it back, or send it to the Cobalt team or the Atlantic team or some other team, and then propose their buddy team budget in that team. Does that make sense? And
yes.
Then they don't have to deal with the budget anymore. They can just propose it to another team to deal with it. Right? So one of those two things that happen. Anything other than that is automatic hard stop. So you either need to choose to get rid of your budget and send it somewhere else, or you need to create your own budget. There's no other option. Those are your only two options.
Yeah, that's what I was
Either
checking other teams' documents, and I was trying to copy them in order to have a list of the budget document similar to what they had, right? But Well, I don't know. If I don't get the answers for this, I think I just kind of have to move aside and let someone else decide, or even though move aside from this opportunity.
No, but I mean, we can help you with that. I mean, not the end of the world, but yeah, I'm also checking the documents here and try to help you create the budget, because I mean, this is how we work. We all help each other. So I am also checking, and I'm trying to find out what are the items that Jay is talking to us that we're missing. And I'm sorry, it's just I have created other budgets with Steve before, and what you're telling me is that the difference is that those were buddy team budgets, and this time we're talking about like a whole team.
So
I am still looking for like what are the differences. For example, what I see the difference is that there in this other budget that I'm checking, that is 120 degrees west Sestant. It's we're also considering, for example, the senior management positions and things like that.
So let's add the senior management positions. That's good.
It's kind of hard to make a budget out when I need permission to get to the FQN overall budget to see what the actual team budget is.
So it is important to note that the senior manager position isn't necessarily applicable to Andromeda, because Andromeda doesn't have senior managers, because it's a duodecant, right? But anyway, so I think overall you're looking pretty good. I mean, this is a pretty good list. There's a few things missing, but overall, I think it's fine.
Can I ask you a question?
I think you guys we can move forward and just do it. Yeah.
I need to make a budget. I need to be able to see the FQN Unity overall budget for October, November, December, so I can see what our budget is, right?
Yeah, and that would just be directly on the budget doc, and I can copy and paste that here.
When I open it, it's asking me for permission, so I can't do a budget if I don't have permission.
It's asking for permission.
It's asking me for permission.
What are you trying to open? What are you trying to open?
I just sent you a request. I don't know whose stock it is, but I just sent a request.
Oh, you mean the overall budget for October, November, December? Well, no, you don't need that.
Isn't it I need to look at what our budget is, what our public budget is, what our team budget is? Isn't that where I need to find it?
No, it would be in the core team budget. But but it's good that you found that this isn't a shareable link, so we need to share it. So
really, since I'm also the project director at Umbrella Accounting and Finance, pretty sad I can't get to the overall budget.
Yeah, I just opened that. Thank you for letting us know. So the overall budget, you don't technically need. What you need is the global core team budget, internal budget.
All right.
Because that's what goes over the teams. And I linked that here as well.
All right. Team budget breakdown. There we go.
So
this does not have the changes we voted on yesterday in it, though, yet, does it?
What did we vote on yesterday?
To take the Pacific money and give it to the Andromeda and the Atlantic.
No, those changes are in there.
They're in there? You put them in already? All right.
Yeah, they should be in there. Mm-hmm. So if we go to the team budget breakdown, you will see that there's $1,250 from the Cobalt team going to other teams, primarily Andromeda team,
right,
as well as Atlantic. So, guys, we're getting sort of,
I don't know.
We're getting
problems here.
We're getting close.
Maybe this is old, but it's the Atlantic team budget. Total budget is $500, and it was more than that when we looked at it the other day.
I have that the Atlantic team is $1,500. Then you're giving $500 to the Andromeda team.
Right, and I'm looking at something here. Hold on. That shows America's full team, Atlantic team. Total budget 500. Transfer 0. New total 500. Team control. Let's see. Team control 350. Left for global 350. Now I just clicked on it from the. This is the FCN2 Core Global. This is October, November. Okay. This is October, November.
Yeah, you went November, December.
Yeah, I gotta see where that one is. Okay. Well, that's the one was connected to the. Okay, well maybe I did it wrong. Okay, whatever. I'll figure it out.
Cool. All right. So
No.
So what do you guys want to do here? Because we're kind of running out of time. Do you guys want me to kind of do this for you, or do you guys want me to walk you through it? I mean, creating a budget is not rocket science. It's just, you know, what is the amount of money coming in? What are the totals to the buddy teams? Make sure it's a ballot budget. You know, add the recruitment budget, senior section managers. I mean, the Andromeda team budget should be the simplest budget of all because it doesn't have senior managers.
I'll do it, and I paste it on the FQN global internet budget. No, wait, on the monthly team budget verification spreadsheet. I'll do it, but I'm going to need someone to verify it because I'm going to do it by myself, right? Because I'm going to use all those documents as a guide for me, because all that you have seen here is a list of documents that you have to put in the budget document, right? And I'm going to just use those as a guide because I think that's the best way. I'm not going to take more time from you, so you can show me how to do it properly. Okay. But I'm going to need someone to verify them.
Well, you definitely don't need to do it by yourself. Like, we'll all help you. So, I mean, as long as you feel confident that you have enough information to at least create a draft, it doesn't need to be perfect. You know, we'll support you and help you, but, you know, let's do it as soon as possible. But again, you know, if we just worked on it all together right now,
let's just do it.
We can just do it.
Instead of talking about it, let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just do it then.
We're out of time for this.
Let's just do it.
And then we can approve it, and then it's done.
Let's do it. Instead of talking about it, let's do it.
So it sounds like no one is against the idea of you know, waiting a couple, adding a couple more minutes, like another 10 minutes to just getting this done.
I agree with that.
It's really not that complicated, you know, and unless someone wants me to do it for everybody, I'm not going to do it, right? So if everybody says, like, Jay, we have no idea what to do, we want you to do it, that's the only way that I'm going to do it. Otherwise, this is the time for people to step up and actually do things, you know?
Let's use it as a training session, and we all work on it. Jay can guide us if we don't know what we're doing.
So what's the first step of doing the budget?
Create a doc.
There you go. And how long has it been since I suggested doing that?
I don't know, but I'm thinking
it's been about 15 or 20 minutes since I suggested that, and did it get done? No, it didn't happen. So it's like I don't know what else I can do except for tell you what needs to happen. If you guys don't do it, then I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean?
I'm doing it now.
Okay. So while someone's creating the doc, people can also be creating the actual budget. What would go into the budget? So we could make a category here. It says Andromeda team budget for November, December, and you could start creating it. Like, what would you guys put into the budget?
Million Jorge's buddy team budget.
Okay, do you want to do that, or do you want me to write it in?
I'm actually starting one for the Atlantic at the same time, so you don't mind.
Okay, so Nelly and Jorge, so that would be a buddy team, main buddy team. What would we put for that amount?
Let's see if I can find their. I don't know if it was shared with me. I can look, but I don't know if I have it. Wait, but I can go to their main doc and find it from there.
I see here from December to January, budget from December 27 to January 28. There is a whole budget of 11. $1,050. That's right, George, for December, January?
Yes.
Cool. And then does that include fees?
This is the link. This is the link. I will send it again, so you can link it into the there.
Does it include fees? That's what he asked.
Include
Oh,
fees.
no.
So for the buddy team budget proposal, it doesn't need to include fees, but for your team budget, in order for it to be balanced, it has to include the fees. Otherwise, it's not balanced.
Okay, I don't see fees here.
Oh, that's gonna be important.
So where could we find the fees for the Andromeda team budget for Jorge and Nelly?
We do it in the with Nelly. You remember? Like tomorrow will be 8 days ago. We got the selling the Bitcoin.
Isn't that in the spreadsheet when we do the payroll?
Yeah, is there.
That one?
So that's
That's
one
what
place.
I would think.
That's one place you could go, but that's not a very good place because it's not actually finalized. The two places that you could
Don't
go.
the fees change? Oh, I guess if their amounts don't change, the fee doesn't change. Because fees are based on the amount, and when you start adding
Fees.
output bonuses and sex and manager bonuses, the fees are going to be different than their regular pay.
Yeah. So fees do change here and there, depending on the budget and depending on the different pay and things like that. But overall, they don't change a lot. So there's two places you can go. One is in the HR rankings for the team. The team rankings for HR rankings has the fees. The other place you can go is in the previous budget, right? So the actual core team budget includes the fees from previous months. And in this case for Jorge and Nelly, it's about $50. So if you put $50, it should cover any potential fees. But if you don't put that $50, then you could be $50 over budget. Does that make sense? So it's very important to include those $50 of fees.
The document is there.
Also, I have a different number for oh, nice, great. For Jorge and Nelly, which is 1,150 for their requested, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's find out. So December and January requested is 1,150. So I'm not sure where Steve got that number of 1,050, but in the end, it's up to Jorge because it's his budget proposal.
Fees are not included there.
No, fees are not included. No, but either way, it would add up incorrectly. If so, did you guys see the notes we're writing here? Like this we're writing the budget, so it's like insert
$100 missing.
So it is missing. So do you need me to correct that for you, or are you capable of correcting it and making it the right number? So if it's now correct, then you'd want to take off the question marks. It still has question marks on it, unless you want me to take off the question marks. All right, so then from there, the only thing missing is that it is technically missing the fees. So we could say here that this does not include fees, and then you could make the fees a separate agenda item. I mean, a separate item of the budget. Okay, that looks good. So then the only other thing to consider is how much money exists in the team in the budget, and this would obviously be team controlled budget, and then you want to compare that to the actual team budget, and that would be your income. Does that make sense? So you go to the team breakdown budget and you would look at your income, which is $1,155. And then the public control budget is $495. So you guys see how to get that number, or should I explain it again? Can someone explain how to get the number of your income for your team? Is anybody here?
You go to the core team budget, and you add. Hold on. Andromeda team. The transfer amount is $1,650.
Yeah. So
the total is $1,650.
Yeah. So your new total is column F.
$1,650.
So it's column F. And then you also have in column H, you have your team control, and column K, you have your public control. Does that make sense?
Right.
Does that make sense, Jorge?
Sorry, I've run out of battery.
I'm going to ask you a question, and it's just a question.
Yeah.
Why is the Andromeda team budget higher than the Atlantic team budget when we're not really trying to hire people into the Andromeda team per se? Because usually the Atlantic people or the Pacific people end up working in the Andromeda team. So why? I was wondering.
Well, first of all, the Andromeda team budget was $0, and the Atlantic team was $1,500, right? So all the money that's in the Andromeda team right now is because it was transferred there. And so the Atlantic team has $500 that they're transferring to the Andromeda team. The Atlantic team can simply decide not to transfer that money to the Andromeda team, in which case the only money in the Andromeda team would be from the Cobalt team, which would be $1,250. Does that make sense, Steve?
Okay, so I guess we won't know until we figure out exactly what our budget is, whether we can afford to transfer the money or not.
Of course, but actually you have to revert. It's automatically transferred, and so if you want to revert it, you can revert the transfer. But that's how it started. It started with an automatic $750 transfer.
Right.
So if you guys want to vote to revert that transfer, you can do that, but you'd have to do that in context that it could affect the Andromeda team, right? It's like telling someone you're going to give them money and then taking it back. So Jorge, do you understand where to find out how much money the Andromeda team has in income?
I was checking on the FQNC and Global Core team internal budget.
On team budget breakdown for November, December, right? And then it'll be column F is the total amount for the Andromeda team, and then you have column H has the team control, and column K is the public control.
Okay, team budget breakdown for November, December.
This weekend, save 15%. Thanksgiving.
What was I doing? I was doing this.
So what do you do when you put all the items of your budget onto your budget? What do you do afterwards?
Should I put what?
You should put all the money on the left side so that it's the same. You know, looks all the same. So where do you get $450?
Public control?
Isn't that total control?
But where are you getting that number?
Team budget breakdown.
Are you looking at the November, December core team internal budget for the team budget?
Can you link that to the screen? Can you link that, Jay?
Oh, that's a
I already linked it.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's right here. It's the FQNCN Global Core Team Internal Budget for November, December.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
I got the October, November. I'll find it in November, December.
Was on the budget doc. On the budget doc, it still has October or whatever.
Here it is.
So getting back to the Andromeda team, so what you want to think about is how much income do you guys have for the team controlled budget, and then whether that fits, and then what is the other funds in your budget, and then you want to look at your total and see whether or not the whole thing fits, and by how much.
Yeah, that is why I wanted to do it like by myself, because I don't have to do it like under pressure right now, because I had to find the documents. I certainly closed everything because my computer ran out of battery. So right now I'm trying to recover all the documents I was doing.
Okay, well, I mean, Lilia, Miguel are here. Steve is here. I mean, I'm down just to like move on and go on to the next thing. But it's like, you know, if Lilia says she wants to help out and everything, she could be helping out as well. It doesn't just have to be all on Jorge. But, you know, I'm fine also moving on and doing it later. And I'm also perfectly fine doing it for you guys, but you guys have to ask me to do it. If you want me to do your budget for you, you need to ask me. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. You know, it's like if you guys...
How are we going to know how we're supposed to do it in next time? That's the point.
I see we're going to have a problem. Well, we're not going to have problems. We're going to have to transfer the money from the recruitment budget to Miguel. I see that already. For us, Lilia. Because that budget's only $1,000. Even without my December, January request, we come to $950.
But
so
also,
$50 is enough for Miguel.
But you also could think about whether or not Lilia and or Miguel fit in the public budget too.
Well, isn't the public and the, hold on, I'm going to sit back up. Team control is $700. Public is $300. So it comes out to $1,000 total.
Yeah, and what's the total for the total budget?
Me and Lilia come out to $950.
Yeah.
And that's without me requesting the raise to $1,000. That's with me at $600. We come out to $950.
Okay, well.
Yeah, then you look at December, January. It's.
It needs $400 more for me to get the requested raise I want.
Yeah, it's 1,000.
That I want and think I deserve.
Without Miguel.
So we're going to have a problem unless we transfer in from the recruitment budget. Because we only come out to $1,000.
So what do you do if your budget doesn't come out even? What do you do? There's two options.
Then I request. Well, I'm looking. Hold on a second. Let me look at something. Global. I'm looking to see if there's an excess in the budget that we could possibly get money from the full team budget.
Everything is excess because it's all part of the global budget, and all this money is one-time money for just the month, right? So in the context of your options, you have two options. One is to simply request more money, and two is to pass an unbalanced budget, right? There's nothing illegal about passing an unbalanced budget, so it would just subtract from your next month's budget. Does that make sense?
And and then figure it out for next month.
Exactly.
But then, and that is one option. But then you also said that the other option would be request more money.
Yeah, requesting.
And how would that work? Like, is that in a session, or we put it in our budget and then we talk about it in a session?
Let's say one of the other teams had extra money, if they could send it to the Andromeda team or the Atlantic team, right? Does that make sense?
Not entirely. I will go to the other. Let's say this, and I will ask them if they got money. Extra money. I don't get that.
That's exactly 100% the case, right? So right now that would imply, sending a Skype to the Sonic team saying, you know what, the Atlantic team could use an extra $150. That's as simple as that. So I think that's exactly correct.
And we will write it in our budget. Like, okay, this is our budget, and then we receive $150 extra from the Sonic team. Is that how it will work?
I think, and I have to wait until Jorge's budget's done and I see exactly what the Andromeda total is. But I think if we ask to revert back to 500, that would at least for now cover the budget for November, December. It's not going to cover the budget for the way I'd like it to be. But it would cover the budget. If their budget still fits in without that 500, then I can ask for 400 back from that we gave them. That would cover our budget because I think the team, and that would back money that we had given to the Andromeda team if they don't need it. I don't want to screw their budget up also.
Yeah, I understand.
So if we get Jorge's budget, the Andromeda budget team done, and I see how much it is, and I think they have available. Where am I? I lost where I am. You asked the Atlantic. We don't even have.
So here's another consideration you guys can make. You ready for this?
Okay.
So another consideration is the fact that, well, I guess it wouldn't really matter that much, would it?
I don't know. You didn't tell me what it is.
No, it doesn't really matter. It might matter actually. So let's say Lilia is in the public budget. Okay? And how do you figure out whether someone's in the public budget? You look at the public rankings and you compare on the public rankings to see whether or not someone actually fits the public budget or not, right? It means that they are ranked very high in the public HR rankings, right? For amount of money that they're getting paid. So if you look at the public rankings in relation to Lilia, she's in the public rankings, then she would be able to be considered in the public controlled budget. And then if Miguel is also in the public rankings, he could be in the public controlled budget. And then both of them could be put in separate budgets. One could be in the Andromeda budget, the other one in the Atlantic budget. And then that might help offset all the costs and it might all work. So it's beginning, creativity with budgets is extremely important. Right? So maybe it might make more sense for Miguel to be in the Andromeda budget as a provisional buddy team with Nelly and Jorge instead of Lilia and them, right? Does that make sense? Do you guys follow me here?
That makes sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, you would fill all of the budget space instead of, for example, having an extra $500 sitting in public controlled budget not being used within Andromeda.
I think I know what Miguel was requested was. Miguel, were you requesting $400 a month?
I request $400 a month. Yes.
So that would fit. That would fit in the Andromeda public budget.
It would indeed.
400.
Hey,
without fees.
if Georgie and Lilia wants to get me in there, I'm with you guys.
Again, a provisional buddy team does not require approval from Nelly and Jorge. It would be a team proposal, and it would it's a provisional, and it has nothing to do with their main buddy team. It doesn't affect their main buddy team.
I got a question about the budget.
Yeah.
When I came in the network, immediately there will be a rise in the amount of money that will be expended every single month. So that will be assigned to some team. In this case, Nelly and Jorge for provisional body teams, right?
What are you talking about?
Well, that's it. That's what we were taking out of the recruitment budget. Whenever we can fit you in the budget without taking it out of the recruitment budget, then it wouldn't change the amount that's being spent. That's only we take it out of the recruitment budget and add that money to their budget.
Exactly. So right now you need to add my.
No, you already fit in what you already fit in the Andromeda budget.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough money there. There's enough money in the public part of the Andromeda budget that would cover your salary with a little bit left over, actually. So they wouldn't have to take money from somewhere else to pay you. Where if you came into the Atlantic game, we would have to find money from somewhere else to pay you.
Yeah.
I understand that concept, but what I'm trying to say is, if in October, before I start to work in the network, the fee, the budget from Andromeda was 1,150 plus 450, right?
Oh, it was that plus the 30% of that, which is the public budget. It's that plus 30%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what he just said. It is 1,155 plus 495, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, Miguel. What was your question again?
I'm trying to understand. Follow on, continue, and I will try to understand.
Let me see if I can break it down for you. The money, Andromeda team had an $1,150, I think, budget, plus an additional $495, which comes from the public ranking, which is 30% of their money. You don't necessarily use the public budget, but if we have somebody who will fit in the public budget, and you fit the public budget, we can pay you with that, because that's already their money without having to increase their team money. Where, and I don't know why, it just doesn't make sense, the Atlantic team has a smaller beginning budget by $450, and because of that, has a smaller public budget. So our public budget is only $300. So our total is $1,000.
But it's important to note that the Atlantic team controls $1,500, and it's chosen to give $750 of that $1,500 to, and that would be half of it, to the Andromeda team, right? From there, there's an additional $250 coming from the Cobalt team to the Atlantic team, so it offsets to be $500. But you could keep all of that money and have $1,500 instead of less than that. That make sense?
Right, but if he fits in there, we don't have to do that. If he fits in their public budget, there's no reason to do that.
Yes.
Until December, January, when I want to get my raise.
And actually, yeah, it would be like having to think also in the future, maybe it's a lot, it makes more sense to keep it this way, because that way the races could be, like, if we need to do a race, in the case of Steve, for example, he deserves the race, then we don't have to change or do this whole shebang again. I mean, it's already in there. So it's just a matter of
well, we're always
requesting the race.
we're always going to have the potential of needing to redo this whole shebang because budgeting is
Always.
difficult, and we're going to have to constantly be deciding whether or not we're going to need to cut somebody from the budget or add new people or recruit new people. It's a constant process. Another good question, this is a great question to ask right now, is what can the Andromeda team do? Like, is it possible for the Andromeda team to bring in its own budget and its own money directly, and how would it do that? And can any other team do that? How would they do that?
My thing is, if I take over running the house, I would bring in that money directly. I do deliverable. Wait, I do taxes deliverables. Is it Anna's money? Who's part of it? Go directly.
Okay, but how? Let's go back to a specific. How would you bring in the money directly? What would you have to do?
I'm already ready to prepare the bill for Anna. I'm going to prepare a bill and submit it to you to submit to Anna.
A bill. That's the correct answer. So if the Andromeda team simply bills for their work, then instead of getting some money from some other team, they could actually directly get the money. And not only once you start billing, not only do you get the money directly, then if you don't spend the money, your team gets to keep it. And so Andromeda team could actually begin keeping a savings and having a savings and then starting building its budget over time.
Okay, so my next step is to prepare a bill. Now I have a question for you on that subject. Do I have to go back and figure out all the hours that everybody went in to prepare steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as part of that bill?
Eventually, yeah, that'll be part of our bill to Anya for the entire
just wanted to know. Just wanted to know.
But in addition to that,
I can also say how many man hours we work. Okay.
Yeah, but when you're billing for your team, it's a different billing than billing on behalf of the actual client. So when you're billing for your team, you would only be billing for the time that you, Steve, and Lilia put in, and then you want the money to come to the Atlantic budget. Right? That would be billing on behalf of the Atlantic team and bringing your money into the Atlantic team separate from all the other teams, so that you can pay your team members.
So, okay, I know what I'm not saying this, I know the number. I know what we charged her. How do you break down what we charged her? What percentage would say? So it's the Sonic team and the Atlantic team and you, I guess, a little bit. How do you break down how much goes to each?
You're still breaking it. You're still making it a little more complex than it needs to be. Like, you can build.
They put in a lot more hours. If you talk man hours, doing the CSVs and doing steps 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, then I probably did. Well, I had to redo. No, okay, let me change that. 5 and 6 was completely wrong, and I had to redo it myself. So do they bill for that, or do I bill for that?
That's just the difference of output and deliverables versus just time work. So everybody can bill for the time that they're doing. What you're talking about is you're talking about compiling an entire client work report that then is billed to Anya, versus your team, aka your hours and Lilia's hours, billing to Umbus. Right? When you guys build Umbus, you bill for all of your hours that you did the work for. That is actual work that you can get billed for. Right? So.
Okay, we have some good hours to put in there. Okay,
exactly.
I got you. Expecting by tomorrow or Saturday. But okay.
Let's get the taxes done first. But the point is that as we evolve beyond, right now, all the teams are required to do budgets. Eventually, all the teams are going to be required to do actual billing.
I have no problem doing billing. You know that.
Of course not. Of course not. But it's like, obviously, a lot of other people have a lot of problems in building, which is why we're creating this internal system where every single team is going to be responsible for their own budget, their own income, their own billing, their own client relations, so that everybody is forced to learn these things so that we can practice, so that when we have real clients, we can actually take care of them and actually bill them and actually bring in the money. Because right now it's not happening, and it's a big problem. So this is all training. This entire process is training so that we can actually make a budget for our client. We can actually build the client. We can actually have client relations, because right now we're falling on our faces, and it's a big problem. And the only thing that we're lucky on is the fact that Exa, our client, is more disorganized than we are by a lot. But it's like the only thing saving
I'll
us.
step up the part with the decisions and getting the decisions forms done.
Yeah.
And I'll do it weekly after. If you make sure that I get the notes, because you don't always share them with me for the weekly or whatever the end of the meeting is, that you need decisions docs on top, I will get. It takes 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I can get them done weekly if I have to send out. It's when I have to do like I did last time. I'm answering that. It's like I have to do it last time where I'm looking for 3 meetings worth of stuff.
Yeah, and the best way to do it, Steve, like let's get the nonprofit taxes done first, but the best way to do it is just one proposal at a time, making sure that proposal is perfect, and then we can also send out 1-2 proposals at a time. We don't have to do all of them all at once,
Well, that's what I'm trying. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Last time it was like 3 meetings worth of proposals we did.
Yes.
So it was a little harder.
And we're still there. We haven't sent it out yet. It's not done yet. We haven't even completed a single proposal, right? We just have a list of proposals, but any one proposal hasn't been completed yet. All right. So, anyways, let's take a step back here. We're getting down a rabbit hole, which is good, since people are seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that every single team is going to be independent and fully self-sufficient and self-functional, right? So,
one other question on budget.
Yes.
The November-December budgets are already set, right?
No, the November. The team budgets are set. Yeah, exactly. How much money each team has is set. The buddy team's budget proposals are set, except the buddy teams are a spectrum, right? They're from the minimum, the lowest, all the way to the ideal, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I got another question. The back pay, where is the budget of the back pay?
So, for example, if the Andromeda team had extra money, they could just stick in their budget, we want to pay additional advances and back pay. So we're going to put, maybe they could put like, $200 to pay for back pay if they wanted to. If they had the money, they could do that. But right now, they obviously don't have the money. It's actually, they're over money, right? There's additional money on top of it. Also, I want to make sure it's really clear that by definition, getting paid back pay increases your pay rate. Does everyone understand that? But that back pay increases your budget, increases your pay rate, and so it would affect, public rankings and public budgeting, right? So everyone needs to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the public budget and you want back pay,
but that would be a 1-month thing. That wouldn't be a permanent thing. Your advances only come out of 1 month's budget.
But it would still affect your averaging for how much your pay is. Your average pay would go up based on that going up.
Yes.
Right? Like if you want to get more money, you're getting more money out of the budget. It doesn't just go away. It's there.
I had a bad month with that last month. We know all about it.
Yeah. So
it was necessary. I mean, it was necessary.
That's why people ask. That's why we allow people to propose back pay and advances, because it's necessary sometimes.
Right.
But people have to realize that it affects them, right?
You have to understand that me and Jay has 17 years of back pay, and I have like 3 years of back pay coming. So
yes,
we don't worry about it that much.
We definitely don't worry about it. If we got paid all of our back pay between me and Steve, the whole entire company would go bankrupt, right? So it's like, it's pointless to even think about it. So it's mainly equity, right? It's just equity.
It's equity, exactly.
So this is looking really good, Jorge and Lilia and Miguel, whoever's working on this is looking really good. We're making a lot of progress here. A couple things to note is that there is a negative $45 difference in the team-controlled budget. And the public-controlled budget is, Miguel fits into it. I obviously am going to double-check the public budget by going to the personnel support and opening up the public ranking.
Still, his fees are not yet included.
And his fees aren't included. How are you getting paid, Miguel? We can estimate that very easily.
To Western Union.
Okay, so that'll probably be about $11. Is it twice a month? So it'll be about $22. So you can put like $22, $25 for Miguel's fees.
Still fits the public.
How do you know?
All is for 495.
Public is 495. 425 fees is 425. So we should save the public budget.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yes, but what I'm checking right now is whether or not he actually is in the public budget, just to confirm that he's in the public ranking, right? See where he is in the public ranking. So this is Miguel. And so first thing I'm gonna make Miguel is make him green because he is now active hired, which is important.
Thank you very much.
This is invited, so we say active. Boom. Perfect. Active public rankings. So I have you as $10 an hour. Is that correct? 400 divided by 4 divided by 10. I think that's correct. Is that correct, Miguel?
Yes.
So. And the only other thing about the public rankings is to understand it in relationship to actual money per hour or relative jurisdictional. But I think we're talking about actual money per hour because we're talking about the actual budget and whether or not people fit in the actual budget. A to Z. I actually want that to be Z to A. Okay, good. All right, so then this should be the public ranking for 60 degrees west. And it still obviously needs a lot of work because there's a lot of people who haven't been finalized, but it looks like it's, oh no, it looks like it's the wrong direction still. So let's just go to the bottom. So is this correct? 60 degrees west, that's right. Although it is interesting to think about the fact that the Andromeda team is not a sextant. Very interesting. So it's kind of disconnected from the public rankings. So it looks here like Lilia is definitely in the public rankings, near the very, very top. Kanisha is near the very top as well. Mauricio, and then you have Jorge and Miguel.
Where do I sit in now?
Say again?
What?
Say again? I missed that. Can you say that again? I missed that. I missed that.
Steve, we are not hearing you.
Yeah, sorry, no, we can't hear you.
All right. Cool. All right. So, anyways, I think that's pretty clear as far as I can tell. Steve, we can't hear you. No, you definitely can't hear Steve. So, according to my calculations, Miguel is actually making more than Jorge. Would you guys both live in Bogota?
Yes.
So your guys' jurisdiction should be the same. And I'm assuming that it's $1,000.
Different sounds. He lives with his parents. I live in a different area.
I know, but that shouldn't change the jurisdictional. The
Yes.
jurisdiction is the base jurisdiction is the bottom base that it costs to live in, general area of Bogota as a city. And different neighborhoods will be different costs, right? So to live in one neighborhood is going to be cost more than another, but a person technically could choose to live in a different neighborhood. So that's the base cost. But it needs to be generally safe. Yes, we can hear you now, Steve.
Yep, we can.
Okay.
Cool. So the proposal here would be, you know, the jurisdiction for Bogota is either going to be $800, $900, or $1,000. Okay. So we want to have clarity on that. Cool. Yeah. But overall, in my calculations, you know, it looks to me like the public budget is like Kanisha, Lilia, Mauricio are all obviously in the public budget, whereas Nelly, Jorge, Miguel, you know, Steve, Monique, like these, Monique isn't active, is she? Not, Monique isn't involved. Do you guys know Monique?
I haven't seen her at all lately.
Not active. I don't think Monique is active. So I'm going to change that back to yellow. All right, cool. So do you guys see the difference between the public rankings and the team-controlled rankings?
Yep. I
Okay,
think
cool.
I am following that.
So there's a clear differentiation between Kanisha, Lilia, Mauricio from Jorge, Miguel, Nelly, Steve. Okay?
Okay.
Coolio. So
So just to clear that, just one fast thing.
Yeah.
So then that means that, for example, my pay can come out if we do our
Yes.
budget, Steve.
yes.
That means that our budget will be like, could be fully yours, let's say, and then my part could be taken out of the public ranking. I'm talking about the public.
Our public budget for the first Atlantic game is only $300.
Oh, okay.
And how much is Lilia's budget? It says 350, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's really close. That's really 300, 350 is really close. And remember that you can, like, a public person's budget can easily overlap into the team control budget, but the team control budget can't overlap into the public budget. Does that make sense? So anyone in the public budget has full accessibility to the team budget as well, because they're you know, a priority. So it's very easy to meet the need. So as she could take 300 from the public budget and $50 from the team control budget, and then you can have the rest of the team control budget. Steve, does that make sense?
And you can have your raise.
Well, we're gonna give you a bigger raise for the next month. This is just for this month. The next month we're gonna be changing everything, and I don't know if Steve's raise doesn't kick in until the next month anyways. Does that make sense? So we don't even have to worry about Steve's raise for now. All right, cool. So okay, so a couple things that we have really clear now. One is Miguel being in the public budget means that it makes it most sense that he would just be part of the recruitment budget for now, right? So that he doesn't fit into either of these budgets, which is perfectly normal and what we would expect. The next thing that we would consider.
Can I ask you a question on the public rankings just for a second?
Yes.
Line 11, didn't we hire Steven? Is that who's working for us, Steven O?
Line 11, Steven O.
Yeah, we had them in the summit session.
Yeah, and so he should be green?
Green. That's what I was just asking. I didn't want to make it green without asking, you know.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't see an O there. I don't see Stephen O, so hopefully it is, but I would assume it is.
He's from Nairobi, Kenya, so I'm assuming that it's him.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so the next thing, so I would go ahead and potentially take Miguel out so that it's not confusing. And then the other thing to note here is that we do want to finalize the jurisdiction proposal for Bogota. Should it be $800? Should it be $900 or $1,000? You know, like basically, is it possible to get by in Bogota on $800, $900 a month?
Oh, I don't know. I guess you would have to ask them. I have no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
Well, in Colombia,
yeah,
there is something that is the minimum wage. that is
But we're not concerned about the minimum wage. We are concerned about the actual cost of living, because most people can't live on minimum wage. It's not enough to like meet basic life needs. So we're not talking about minimum wage. We're talking about like the base living wage of what you need to meet all of your, food, rent, utilities, basic costs of, communication, your phone costs, like maybe some travel costs, maybe some costs related to education, or, just living a reasonable, in a reasonably safe neighborhood, right? Like obviously you could live in some super sketchy, slum for less money, but that's not a reasonable assessment if someone's risking their life or not in a safe environment in order to live. So we wouldn't count that. So it's the base cost of living in a reasonably safe neighborhood of Bogota, but not necessarily an upscale neighborhood, right? That makes sense?
Okay, yeah. So I believe it's going to be $1,000 or maybe a little bit more. Okay. $1,000 will do it.
Well, we'll just stick with 1,000 then. So everyone's okay with 1,000? I think this is agreed. No objections?
No objections.
Okay.
Well, I guess it should be Jorge the one also saying something because he's there.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but Jorge has already proposed 1,000, and that's already what was approved. So the only reason we're questioning it is just because Miguel proposed 800, right? And it needs to match between the two because they're the same jurisdiction.
Let me make him laugh. I get something like $7,200 under my jurisdictional pay.
Yes. Our jurisdictions are ridiculously expensive here in the.
Here's the thing: even in the sketchy neighborhoods, even in the sketchiest neighborhood in New York, you would need $6,000. In the worst neighborhood,
of course.
A 2-bedroom apartment. Listen, a 2-bedroom apartment in Bedford-Stuyvesant, which was the worst neighborhood, but now it's getting a lot of millennials, costs $2,200 a month to start. So, be happy you don't live in New York.
I know, man. It's cray. Here it's like easily $7,500 a month. All right, so I think we are good. Let's make sure we updated it. Here it's, where is the jurisdiction?
I guess that's part of recruitment, so we did do some recruitment.
Yeah, all right, cool. So I think this budget is pretty close to being done. You're $45 over, right? And we can put that in, as red or orange because it's not a big deal being $45 over. So this $45 would get deducted from your next month's budget. But other than that, I think it's pretty much done. I mean, I think we're ready to propose this. I mean, can you guys think of anything else for the Andromeda budget that we're missing? Or I guess the recruitment budget's not included here, but I don't think that's a huge deal. But but it doesn't have a recruitment budget. Andromeda has a $0 recruitment budget. Andromeda does not have a recruitment budget, period. So
the Andromeda workers come from Pacific and from Atlantic.
Exactly.
Usually, so.
Cool.
Because it overlaps Pacific and Atlantic, or Cobalt and Atlantic, whatever.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Oh, I was glad. I never handed off to you, Jay. Consider yourself handed off to.
What did you hand off?
Senior sector manager.
Oh yeah. Well, today I do Wednesdays and Saturdays. Thursday it's sort of like a kind of I'm default or whatever. But anyway, let's get this proposal finalized. Jorge, does it look good to you? Are you ready to? So the proposal is to pass the Andromeda team budget as above, right?
So, where I'm going to be then? In Andromeda or Atlantic?
Right now you are going to be in the recruitment budget.
The recruitment budget, okay.
Yeah, and this is because you're not ranked high enough in the public rankings to be considered a public, but to be in the public budget.
Okay.
Yeah, and the public budget is basically a budget that's open. Yeah, I mean, you're still going to get paid. That's perfectly fine. But eventually we want to figure out how to fit you into the team budgets. That's obviously the goal. All right, so Jorge, Miguel, Jay, Steve, Lilia. Are you guys ready to vote? Or Jorge, is there anything missing here? Or do you think it looks good or what? And your income is actually, 1,250 from Cobalt team and $500 from the Atlantic team. Does that make sense? Well, actually, that's 700. It's 1,150 from Cobalt. All right. 1,250 plus 500 should be 1,700. I think I get 1,750, not 1,650. What do you guys think? I think we calculated incorrectly.
I think.
And this is why we double and triple and quadruple check everything. You're going to want to double check your income to make sure it's correct. So that would give you 1,225, which actually puts you within the budget. Do you see what I'm doing? See the difference?
Okay.
So this would be 1,225. So then what does that mean? It means you have a $25 positive plus $25, which means you're in the green. That makes sense? And so it's a balanced budget. Are you guys following me here? Or am I going way too fast, or I'm not hearing anything?
I got you.
I know, but what about Jorge and Lilia and Miguel?
Oh, yeah, I am following you. I think I am. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you guys have $525 in the public control budget, which means that you can recruit in the public budget. And then you have, here's 525. Cool. So basically what that means is someone's willing to get paid up to $525 a month within the context of the public budget. They could be hired. If they're not willing to get paid in the context of the public budget,
Andromeda.
they can't get hired. Does that make sense? If they want more money for their own personal pay, based on the rate, the hourly rate, then they would need to join the team budget. And that is calculated based on their overall rate. So you can't say like, oh, I want to get paid $500 for 2 hours of work, right? It's not gonna, it doesn't count in the public budget. You got to actually be actual work.
Okay.
Cool. So I think that's pretty clear. I mean, are we making any sense here, Jorge, or does this look good? Do we lose Jorge, or Jorge? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, is Miguel then staying in the budget with us and as a professional buddy team, or?
Nope. We did not propose or approve Miguel in the provisional buddy team.
Yeah, actually, because you said that we didn't have any recruitment budget.
Well, you guys have an open $525 public control recruitment budget. You have that. So you don't have your own recruitment budget, but within your team, you have an additional $525 that you could add somebody to your team up to $525 if they fit in the public budget, the public ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, which basically means they need to be working for less than $8 an hour or whatever it is. Like less, it needs to be they need someone who's willing to work for less money would get in the public controlled budget. That's the whole point of the public controlled budget.
Okay.
So, Jorge, are you ready to approve this budget or what?
Well, I voted yes already. I voted yes already.
Well, I want to hear it in vocal. It needs to not just be written. It needs to be vocal. So I was waiting for Jorge and you to say yes. I say yes. Lilia, Miguel?
I say yes.
Say Steve's yes. Lilia?
I say yes.
Lilia's yes. Miguel?
George, are you agree with this? Okay, yes.
Yeah, I just voted yes.
All right, agreement.
So Miguel, what did Miguel vote?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we are consensus. So consensus on the budget. Great. We did it. And so now what are you going to do, Jorge?
What are we going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do now with the budget?
I think we need to have we need to get down the spreadsheet.
Nope. It's perfect. You do not, your team budget does not need to be on a spreadsheet. It needs to be copied and pasted into the budget doc.
Just like that.
Just like this. That is perfectly valid budget. It's the budget does not need to be something special and like some big huge spreadsheet. It doesn't need to be that at all. I mean, you can choose to do that if you want to, but you don't have to. Right? But you want to copy and paste this into your budget doc and then make sure your budget doc is linked to linked to the budget.
The monthly team budget.
Well, it needs to be linked to the budget doc, right? The project doc for the budget under the team budgets, right?
Right. It doesn't matter that it's not by month because it's only November, December.
Yeah, that's why you have a budget doc. On your Andromeda budget doc, you're going to have the links to and the information of all of your monthly budgets, all of them, on your budget doc. That's the purpose of the budget doc.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Jorge, here's the doc. I will just redrop it in the Hangout.
And I've copied both, and I've put both into the decisions doc already, so that's done.
Cool. So someone copied and pasted the Andromeda team budget into.
I redid it into the decisions doc.
Well, what about the Andromeda budget doc? Who did that?
Andromeda budget doc. Oh, I copied and pasted that because Jorge had already made this document, so I just updated it.
Okay, so now it needs to be linked onto the budget project doc.
Budget project.
All right, I'm on that one, budget doc.
Cool. All right, guys. So the goal is hopefully in the future that can happen a lot faster and a lot more simpler.
Yeah, we should be able to do our Swami and Lilia in about 15 minutes.
Okay, but just remember to make sure that it's official. It needs to happen at an official weekly main session, right? And if you want to do an urgent, emergency decision ahead of time, you can, but it still needs to be reviewed and approved at a main weekly session. Does that make sense? At a regularly scheduled meeting. Do I really need to say this again?
Okay.
So just so I say it again, because I'm not hearing anything, I'm getting silence, that the budget, once it's created, can be officially done as an emergency or urgent decision, but it needs to go to a regularly scheduled meeting and be approved and proposed as a regularly scheduled meeting. That's how you do.
We haven't had one in the Atlantic for a while, but there will be one next week.
Good. And you should announce it to everybody. When is it?
I don't know. On one doc it says Tuesday, on one doc it says Wednesday, so I don't know.
Well, that should be the first step.
On the second schedule, it says Wednesday. But when Nelly took over St. Susan, the senior second matter, she said she'd like to do it on Tuesday. So supposedly it got changed back to Tuesday on the calendar. But on the second schedule, it still says Wednesday. So I'm not sure when it is.
Well,
on the Google calendar, I'm getting notified on Tuesday, but on the second schedule, it says Wednesday.
Well, how about this? How about for this week, we do both Tuesday and freaking Wednesday, and you make sure it happens one of those 2 days. Otherwise, it's like hard stop. No one gets paid. It's like make your budget.
I'll make sure it happens. Okay, I'll make sure it happens.
Yeah, so it's like worst case scenario. You don't know which day it is. Do both, and then you'll know one of them's going to work. If it doesn't work out on Tuesday, it's going to be on Wednesday. Okay?
I'm gonna need you at the meeting next week, Lilia.
Okay.
I will talk before then.
Okay.
All right.
Well, and part of this hard budget stop is to make sure that the teams are getting organized, right? It's like if the teams aren't organized, then the buddy teams won't be organized, and the work's not going to be getting done. Okay?
All right.
Sweet. All right. So I think we're looking good. I'm ready to check out. I mean, we've been going for over 2.5 hours, so this took a really long time to do the budget, but hopefully it helped. Hopefully we have a better idea about how to do budgets. And
are you working Pacific today? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
All right, just checking.
Although Pacific's supposed to start in like 15 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm not, you have to understand, my body's still telling me it starts at 7 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. So I'm all screwed up
I know.
on my schedule.
I know, me too.
I'm doing my time. I'm so used to Pacific starting at 7 o'clock my time that it's starting at 6 is making me crazy.
Yeah. So we're going on almost 3 hours. So I suggest we check out, we wrap up, we check out, and then we call it a day. And we got the budget done. That's like the most important thing. So it's exciting.
Yep. Lilia, would you like to check out?
Yep.
And you're more than welcome to check back in with us in a little while to work Pacific, Cobalt.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna ask exactly the same thing because maybe Jay, you also need help to finish again, or well, to continue with the payroll because we haven't finished. So we could consider that again.
No better than to use the word finish.
Yeah, no, that's why I changed it. Like I didn't not finish, but continue.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, check out. Well, I think I learned quite a lot about budgets in this meeting. So thank you guys for that. And that's it. Have a great evening.
Great. Thank you, Leah. Jorge, you want to check out next?
Sure. Yeah. Now budgeting process is a little more clear for me since I haven't worked on budgeting before. Yeah, I feel more comfortable talking about our budget, not everybody else's, since I haven't checked those previously. I'll be me check.
Okay, Jay, would you like to check out?
Sure. Yeah, I thought this meeting was okay. It was a little like, well, for me, it's like I could bust out these budgets in like 5 minutes. So spending 2 hours on a budget is kind of like excruciatingly painful, sort of. It's just like I'm always ready to move much, much faster. But I'm also I understand the importance of stepping back and like, I mean, if you guys don't understand how to budget, there is no possible way for us to meet the needs of the client. It literally is impossible, right? The client needs are all budgeting, finances, accounting, all the value tracking, all of it is all based on budgeting, adding, subtracting, and making sure it all adds up, and verifying and auditing, right? And so if you don't know how to make a budget, you don't know how to do any of the rest of it, right? And then once we get our budgets down, we'll be able to start billing. And next thing you know, the entire global teams, we can take on more clients. So we can't do our client billing, we can't do our client relations, we won't be able to do anything else and bring in more money. It's just not possible. Cool. So that's pretty much it on my side. So this is good.
My turn. My turn. This meeting kind of made me realize that I'm not stepping up to do everything I need to do as far as client billing and client relations and my part of the client work that needs to be done. Probably because I've had priorities like taxes kind of jamming me up a little bit, but probably because I kind of, like other people, forgot that I'm supposed to be doing some of it. I have so many things on my plate that I lose track of them sometimes, and I need to keep better notes like Jay does so I remember everything I got to do. I've gotten a little better with that. But I think this was a great meeting for everybody. So, I mean, I know how to make a budget, and I pretty much know how to do this, but it was even a good reflection for me, and I'm as always happy to be here, and I'll be back in about 15 minutes. Check.
Okay.
I'm probably going to be more like a half an hour, probably the bottom of the hour. I'll be back. Miguel.
Thank you very much for this meeting. I'm happy to learn more. That's it.
I'm with Jay on the bottom of the hour, so about 40 minutes. That way I can eat and stuff. So I'll be back in like 40 minutes at the bottom of the hour. That works. All right, I guess that's it.
Awesome, good work.
Bye, everyone. I don't know
Awesome, good work,
value tracking. I don't know who signed up to do value tracking. But
Where I send the recording, Jay?
Okay, tell me to send the recording.
What kind of recording is it?
It's I don't know.
Is
It's a video recording, I guess.
Is it an audio recording or a video recording?
Video recording. Okay.
Video recording. All right. Well, the easiest thing to do with the video recording is to upload it to YouTube. Because usually they're pretty big. But you know, eventually we should be able to take video files and put them on our own server. But like ideally, we would just prioritize that as an item. You know, how to zip a file and go to the server and upload it, right? So do you know how to do FTP files and things like that?
Do you have the server address?
No, and I don't know.
No. Jay, do you have the server address?
Well, I mean, I can get it. It would take like 5 minutes as a topic to go over it and prioritize it, but you know, we're
all right. But so the way you do it is he would use WinZip on his computer to zip the file and send it to the server address, and that's it.
And if you don't know how to send it to a server address, you could try, you know, emailing it, and obviously the alternative is just uploading it to YouTube. But
right.
we do have this other. But I did broadcast myself as well.
If you want.
And I did broadcast myself as well, so that we have two recordings here, which is fine. You can have as many recordings as we want, and that's why it's actually we actually had 3 recordings because I also did an audio recording. So we have an audio recording,
zip file
and we have 2 video recordings.
I could put it on Drive. I guess I can share it with everybody on Drive. It will be in the. But we have a Drive file with a lot of our videos. I guess we could always put it into there, I guess.
That's also a possibility. You can just upload it. You could upload it to your Drive.
Places we can put it, so.
That's also a possibility where you can upload it.
Just keep track of it for now, and we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, that's also a possibility where you could upload it to your Drive and then share the folder, and then someone can copy it from that to that, and then you can delete it off the Drive.
That's the easiest way. Put it on Google Drive. Share the folder with the American Screening Network or Steve's FQN at Gmail or whoever.
Yeah, and you might still want to zip it or win it or whatever beforehand to make it a little smaller, but overall it should be fine.
Oh yes, we use WinZip to zip it, and then you can share it with all of us. That's all. Share it to American Screening Network, I guess.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. I'll be back soon. Ciao.
Bye.
See you in a little while. Bye.